Well, aloha from Hawaii. This is meteorologist Amy Metz. I am so happy to say there is no more eye wall with NIRAN. The storm is moving to the south of New Caledonia, like my first forecasts. This is such great news because if you've been watching my videos, you have seen just how fast these wind speeds degrade with space away from the very center. So these are very strong winds here, now deteriorating as this storm is interacting with this landmass. It's starting to break up some of that strong rotation that was able to grow over the open water, and now it's just shutting back down. So there are still very strong winds along New Caledonia that I'll get into a little more. But first, I'll take a look at some of the text products available here at cyclone.com. I've really liked using this site just because when I'm tracking weather globally to share forecasts, it really has a nice overview of a lot of different options here. So we can see the wide view here that there's a lot going on around Australia. There are a few instances of storms traveling between Australia and Madagascar. Now, all of these I want to add in popped up and intensified drastically after last week's coronal mass ejection left the sun. So that was charged plasma leaving the sun that interacted with Earth's magnetosphere, giving us different, like let's say aurora, lightning. And I'm really, as a meteorologist, looking at the, like I'm actually studying for my master's, looking into just exactly how that space weather affects our Earth weather, because I did notice big, huge, strong upticks in all cyclone activity after these events. So this was no exception. And now NIRAN has some more text products down below here that I'm just going to go over some of the wind speeds for. Luckily, where I am here, there's nothing going on. There is one disturbance in the Atlantic that could be giving us some trouble. But now if I go ahead and look just at those products, when I'm on my phone, it looks a little bit different here. So let's see where NIRAN is on this site here. I normally have all of these set up before I start, but I'm a little all over the place today with a lot of work going on. So let's see if it's in this one. So here we go with wind speeds 110 knots, gusting to 135 knots. So yes, we've seen a big downtrend in these wind speeds. We're looking around, earlier today was like 200 kilometers per hour or 150 miles per hour, and now it's much lower. So keeping those in mind, much lower by 2030, still very damaging. Keeping that in mind, we can expect that the actual wind speeds around here would be about 100 miles per hour or more, with gusts a little stronger. And you can see that model was playing it out earlier. This European model was expecting a landfall, and I was just really hoping that wouldn't happen. Now, from the Euro to the GFS model, we already know the system is here now, and it's not over the land, so don't get frightened by this crossing land. But do know that the wind speeds, it looks like the GFS was a little more accurate with this then. So the wind speeds we're really looking at right here, right now, yes, they did go down. All the white, the very strong winds, they did get smaller and smaller and start to decrease as it interacted with this island. So yeah, right around 100 miles per hour. So this is still happening, but the good news here is then if I bring this toggle to this part, you know, where we're actually getting hit on land in New Caledonia, we're looking at 75 miles per hour. So that's the kind of stuff that can drop down trees, have power outages, and also result in rooftops getting damaged or torn off completely, especially those with the tin roofs and the less durable structures. So this is still very damaging, but I am just really happy with how close of a call this was, that it's not quite as bad as it could have been. And now those 100-mile-per-hour winds are going down and down as the storm continues to pass through all of this landmass. So little by little, things will get better. Unfortunately, there will be quite a bit of damage associated with this, but the good news is that it's not as bad as it could have been. I feel like in some ways they're dodging a bullet. You know, a major, what was very close to Cat 5 and might even register as a low in Cat 5 just before it scraped along this coast is now turning into a 4 and will quickly go down to a 3 and again be over open waters. So looking ahead so the nearby islands can get an idea of what to expect and know they're in the clear. There's really no worries besides a lot of rain for, let's say, Fiji and for we have Vanuatu to the north of New Caledonia. And then there's also Tonga they will be getting a lot of rain, just like the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea still are getting. But New Zealand, Fiji, and let's say Tonga, they're not going to be having the big interruptions with wind speeds. So do be prepared for a lot of rain. But as I go up into this mid-level winds, we'll see exactly where the storm is going based off of the winds here. And now these models are not exact, but with something this big, it still gives a good representation of about where it will go and about how the winds are going. So we do see that there's a lot of southeast wind at this level, which is referred to by a lot of meteorologists as the steering winds because it helps steer these storms. We're going to be getting a down sloping, so down toward the south, toward New Zealand. But at that point, there's also a lot of reason to believe that this storm will continue eastward. And there's also quite a bit of air mass here to the south that will be pushing the storm north away from New Zealand. So as we have the system NIRAN closing in down, going down toward New Zealand, there's another pressure system that will help push and steer it away. So luckily, nobody else land-wise should be getting horribly affected by this storm. And I believe the storm will actually be a little bit more south of here than it's showing right now. But either way, we're seeing some higher wind speeds, a very gusty weekend for Fiji, a very gusty weekend for Tonga, but not a huge destructive storm like NIRAN was. So I was happy to be able to report on this. And before I close out, I'll just let that satellite loop go again, and I'm going to go all the way back to the last 12 hours so you can see just how intense that eye wall was and the big change that underwent when NIRAN started interacting with the landmass. So this will toggle for a minute, and don't forget to hit subscribe if you want to stay updated. Throw any information you have on relief and aid in the comments, please. I would like to provide resources for people in this area who may have been devastated by the storm, or those who might even be cleaning up still from the Cat 5s that hit Fiji earlier this year. So there we go. You see that eye wall starting to deteriorate and turn into nothingness once land interacted with the storm. That adds in wind shear, which kills and degrades hurricanes. So go ahead if you want to learn more about hurricanes. Look on my page, and I'll continue in the future putting up videos on how to forecast these, how to understand them better, and how to stay prepared. Because that's my biggest thing here is that with the skill set I gained becoming a meteorologist, I just want people to feel comfortable, be scared, instead of being scared, be prepared. So I hope everybody can enjoy the weather. And despite the rough times right now, I'm just crossing my fingers that everybody got to the safe spots well in advance, because with the data we have available now, we're very lucky with this technology that we can see these things coming miles and miles away, hundreds of miles away. And now with what I'm learning about space weather, I'd like to see to it that our algorithms are updated into our forecast models so that we can continue getting better and better long-term, more accurate weather forecasts. All right, so everybody have a great day, and I'm just going to be continuing to wish the best for everybody in New Caledonia as the storm just continues scraping along the south coast. And oof, it's pretty scary, but what a nice thing that this is not as bad as it was starting to look like it could be. So everybody, thank you for watching. Hit subscribe and stay updated here with your meteorologist, Amy Metz.